This was a great podcast. Emily Skehill is a perfect blend of pragmatism and passion for all things renewable energy. We talked politics, we talked philosophy, we talked leadership, we talked nature and nurture, her time at green energy trading, and her zeal in implementing strategies to electrify Australia from a residential perspective at AGL. So sit back, start smiling, or else you will be soon, and let's get stuck into the podcast. You grew up in Melbourne. That's as far as I know from my little research that I did on you.
There's a bit more to the story than just Melbourne. I was born in Melbourne, but before I was 12 months old, my dad got a position as a surgeon, a training surgeon in Dublin, and we spent the next 3 years over in the UK and Ireland. So initially in Dublin, and my sister was born there, and we moved to London after that. And it was funny, when I was 18, 19, I did that classic overseas trip and went back to that street in London near Hyde Park that we lived on, and walked down seeing the terrace houses. And this is an imperfect memory from a 2.5, 3-year-old.
Yeah.
But it was funny being in that familiar, unfamiliar place as an adult. But I've always felt that connection to Europe because of that very early childhood. Not a lot of deep memory, but certainly some treasured times, part of my story.
Wow, so you got this real, multicultural feel about things.
Yeah, my mum's a Kiwi as well. So
wow, yes.
I go to Central Otago and feel at home there. I've got friends in Germany. I visit them and I feel at home there.
Wow.
I love that feeling of feeling connected to people all around the globe. And I think that's also driven a lot of my passion for understanding language.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Is that nature or nurture, you think?
Oh, there was definitely nurture. My dad had a drive to travel and experience the world. And I remember being a young child, and he'd always speak to me, like, he would also always ask in French, "Je ne comprends pas," like, you know what that means? I would say, yeah, it means I don't understand. But that was the first non-English that I learnt, and I chose to study French when I was at school and then into uni as well. I'm by no means fluent, but very interested in learning the language.
Why French? Because French is it's one of the harder languages. It's one of the most beautiful languages. People swear in French and you go, oh, that sounds great, as opposed to some of the harder kinds of, German's quite hard, great technical language, great for engineering, but it's not, personally, it's not the most pleasant of languages to listen to.
I was a very girly girl, and French spoke to my very girly heart.
That's great. Yeah.
Visions of kings and courts and palaces and croissants.
The artists' quarters.
The artists' quarters. I studied ballet as a child as well. So French is part of the language of ballet. All of the steps have French names. Pas de chat, way of the cat, for example. Plier means to fold. And so French language was often in my world.
Wow.
And so when I had the chance to choose it as a subject at high school, I jumped at the chance. And before then, at primary school, I'd done a lot of Italian, which was also a very fun language.
Italian is beautiful sounding as well. Like it has that sing-song sort of aspect to it, as does Hindi a little bit as well. So there's this particular pattern, and all languages have some kind of patterns. Now I want to get the timeline right because you're studying French at high school, and I'm not sure if you're still in Dublin or where are you now?
So Dublin and London when I was up to 3 years old. I think it was 18 months in each, while Dad did his traineeships there. And when he was looking for a more senior surgical role, he looked at Australia, and we ended up moving to Adelaide. My dad and my mum had never lived there before, and so we moved there. I started kindergarten and did most of my primary school years there in Adelaide, in East Adelaide, in St. Peter's. And, that was a time of, playing cricket in the street and going to friends' houses and exploring the adventure playground near the Torrens River. I learnt piano and I did ballet with my friends, and it was a really lovely time. And then Dad was looking for another job, and I think the choice was between Melbourne or Wellington. The choice was Melbourne, so we moved in 1996. And we always joked as a family that we followed the Grand Prix from Adelaide to Melbourne.
Why, do you like the Grand Prix?
No, I don't have a particular affinity for the Grand Prix.
Gotcha.
But I remember in Adelaide, it'd be Grand Prix weekend, and the whole city would roar with those engines. And Melbourne's just so big, you don't hear it. It's not the same effect. But obviously, I'd say Albert Park is a brilliant track.
It is. Look, it's in a really nice part of the world. I have my own views about the Grand Prix. It'd be nice to see when it's electrified, but that's a conversation for another time.
I think people are already doing that.
Yeah. It's. I think the only thing they have to make sure that they maintain is the growl, because spectacles are not only visual, they're
audio.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're appealing to all the senses. Now, you went to Melbourne Uni, I think.
I did, yeah.
And that's where you studied, let me think, sociology and politics and languages as well?
Yeah, I did a double major, political science and French. I think the French was a little bit more ambitious. But I kept it there because I loved the culture. I had dreams of diplomacy, joining DFAT and this kind of thing. Always in my mind had this connection to politics. And I don't really, I was thinking about this recently, I don't really know what nurtured that seed of a career for me. And it's not necessarily a career that I've directly adopted, but I'm very much adjacent to politics and policy and how we govern and how we collectively take action. But I think it was just that interest in people and how they fit together, and sociology is a great study of that.
Yeah.
I was looking at more groups as opposed to psychology and the motivations of behaviours and feelings, this type of thing. That wasn't a topic that interested me at that time, but it's certainly something that I've brought into my repertoire as I've grown in leadership, I'd say.
It's interesting you've done, you were studying politics and languages and sociology. You would have been a prime candidate for ASIO.
Yeah. I think I was a little scared though.
Yeah.
I wanted something a bit more stable, somewhere I didn't have to I'm a terrible liar.
Oh, no, you would have been a horrible spy then. Yeah, I remember when I went to uni, in the early 80s, there was a lot of talk about the security apparatus, or however you say it, coming and recruiting, especially from the arts department, languages and stuff. So, and that probably still goes on because they're very valid skills. But let's move away from the Secret Service. And when at what stage? You're going to uni, you're studying the languages and politics and sociology. When did the whole energy thing? When did that sort
happened by accident?
Wow.
Yeah. So I graduated just as the Great Recession hit, the Greater Crunch.
The Great Recession.
The Great Recession.
For those listeners who are not old enough or too old and forgotten, when was that?
So 2008, 2009, Wall Street collapsed.
Yep.
And the banks got bailed out. And, I mean, Kevin Rudd did some great things maintaining the Australian economy. A lot of people bought TVs.
Come on.
I was very grateful to get $900 from the government for
we'll leave it at that.
doing nothing.
We'll leave it at that.
But that was a really difficult time to graduate university and go into the job market as a graduate with no experience. And my strategy was to, at that time, I was like, yep, I'm going to be a public servant. I'll go and apply to be in those graduate programs, and they were incredibly competitive. And I wasn't successful through those programs, and that's okay. So I turned to what every good art student does, went to a recruitment agency.
I was going to say waitressing, but
I've done that.
We've all served coffees,
did my time in hospitality, and I went through a recruitment agency, and the first temp job they landed me was at Green Energy Trading. Lo and behold.
Wow.
So I showed up my first day at the office in Camberwell, and they're like, all right, start filing papers. And this is the time where they still had fax. And so by 2009, the renewable energy target is 8 years old by this stage. And at that time, the incentives for heat pumps and solar hot water were attracting a lot of projects to be commissioned, and they had to change the rules because they actually had some people gaming and installing banks of hot water units in footy clubs and stuff like that for the showers, and they were stupidly oversized, if I can put it that way. So there was a lot of concern about the integrity of the scheme then, and we also that was a really interesting year to start in renewables. So 2009, we've got the Rudd Labor government. We've got Peter Garrett as the Energy Environment Minister. The Solar Homes program was giving out something like $8,000 for a 1.5 kilowatt system.
Yep.
Imagine the prices. And at that time, I think the level of employment in the solar industry was, I think, about 5,000 people. And it's still, it was a very young industry. And the Clean Energy Council was pretty new at that stage, after evolving from the Business Council for Sustainability that Rick Brazzali had led up, and he'd left there and started Green Energy Trading. And Rick was so connected to the policy and the politics. He'd advocated, he'd advised on setting up these schemes, and he was just this fountain of knowledge that I was so attracted to, like, learning from as a sponge. I was like, okay, tell me more. It's so connected to politics, but it's actually a business, and it's making real change, and it spoke to all those values that myself as a 20-year-old was like, I'm going to change the world kind of thing. I wasn't going to do it by myself, obviously, but here I was connected to something that was making real positive environmental impact. It was helping people's energy bills, and that was just really enticing. And then there was a double dissolution that year, and so politics was fascinating. The COP at Copenhagen failed, so there was these pendulum swings of sentiment in the economy. Oh, things are changing for the good, but we can't get global agreement, and the morale shifts.
It was a real chaotic time.
It was really chaotic.
Yeah.
And the government budget for the Solar Homes program was exhausted. They shut that down and changed that. They decided to use the renewable energy target and apply 5 times credit multiplier. And boy, that was the rocket under solar that just transformed this industry. And I was there from day one. It was the 9th of September 2009.
So you're obviously a really passionate person, and you're passionate about ballet, French, politics, sociology, and now you're finding this renewable energy. And you just got stuck into it.
I sucked in.
Yeah, hook, line, and sinker. You're in.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I did. And it was just the start of this journey for me, not just of understanding our energy system and sustainability more broadly, but how we lean into it, how we grow it, what we need to advocate for, how you influence, and then my own personal leadership journey as well.
The incentives is, and this is what we were talking about off camera before, the incentives to create change, that seems to be the key, and finding the right incentive for the right target group at the right time. There's a few things going on, isn't there, with this whole scenario?
Yeah, and this is where my university learning was starting to connect with my work as well. So governments have several different levers that they can pull in order to incentivise change in the economy and in people's homes. Broadly, you can put them as carrots or sticks.
Really?
Yeah. So carrots being things where if you do something that is one of these good behaviours, or let's pick hot water. So the government says, it's going to cost, they look at the numbers and they go, it's going to cost people less to run a heat pump or a solar hot water unit. But it's really expensive. That's new technology. The price points are 2, 3, 4 times what they could get for a like-for-like replacement of the gas system. So we've got to address that market barrier, which is the price point. Because if people don't understand that they're going to get something other than just hot water from this new unit, they're just going to compare on price. If
Absolutely.
people can't differentiate, they find what they can differentiate on, and often that's price. And it's where marketing comes into. You've got to be able to differentiate your product. And so the incentive is, install a heat pump hot water unit and you get subsidised through this scheme. You have to go through collecting the evidence to claim it, but the effort of doing that is much less than the return you get from the payout.
So that was the carrot approach.
That's a carrot approach.
Tell us about the stick approach.
Stick approach will look something more like what they've done with tungsten halogen downlights. Basically, they've used minimum energy performance standards to across product categories to say you can no longer import products that use a certain amount of energy. And so that we've seen a radical transformation in the lighting category in the last 15 years since the Victorian government and the New South Wales government put in place energy efficiency incentives under the Victorian Energy Upgrades Program and the New South Wales Energy Savings Scheme for LED lighting. And that's been across household and commercial business use as well.
I think with the lights, though, there was another thing that really hastened the change from those downlights is the fact that they were bloody dangerous. Houses burnt down. They were totally inefficient. And I think there wasn't too much pushback from consumers, was there? Or even people installing them? Or am I totally wrong?
No, I don't think you're totally wrong. The initial hesitation for adopting LED was the fact that it may need some rewiring work and that the globe replacement was quite expensive. But what people didn't realise is how long an LED globe would last in their home. So if they were paying 3 times as much compared to an incandescent bulb, actually that was the equivalent of buying 3, 4, 5 incandescent bulbs. So they were saving in the long run. But people don't imagine that future self-saving. They just think of the present comparison.
Yes.
Of
we're going
the
to talk
cost.
about this later on, I think, because I think it's a really important point. I know a lot of councils too at the moment are in the process of changing their street lighting in areas where they are responsible from the traditional, well, the really old, the mercury vapours, the metal halides, the mercury vapours, and the low and high pressure sodiums. Yeah. So basically a transformer-based product to LEDs. And one of the biggest savings is sporting fields.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, anyway, well, I don't know. We can talk about that, but it seems,
No, I don't know too much about sporting fields, but I was recently on a road trip holiday, and I've obviously been in the energy game way too long, and my husband's been responsible for managing some lighting projects as well, and so we're driving into Sydney, and there's lots of tunnels, and some beautiful, really creatively designed lighting in those tunnels. And majority of it is LED. So really long tunnels in Sydney. And then we drove through one, it was the low pressure sodium. And my kids obviously haven't seen that much low pressure sodium. My kids are 6 and 4. And they're like, oh, my skin's yellow. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is low pressure sodium. But they are actually more used to going through like the Melbourne Tunnel on the East Link, which is all LED. It's got white and green lighting.
Those low pressure sodium, their spectral qualities are pretty rubbish, but they weren't designed for that. Well, they're designed for the most they were quite efficient from that a transformer based solution, but compared to LEDs, they're nothing. But I will say this: I remember when LEDs came out and they claimed 100,000 hours, like Austin Power style, but within a very short space of time they dropped that by half. But they're still at 50,000 hours or so, they're still lasting a heck of a long time.
We bought our house in 2018, and the first thing we did was change all the lights. In fact, there was a bunch of downlights that we took out and just put in pendant lighting, but all the globes that we used were LED. And we're 7 years on. We haven't replaced a globe yet.
That's great.
So I think it's certainly standing up to the claims of 10 years. Well, we're not going to see out 10 years in this home. I think we're going to outgrow it before then. Yeah. But yeah, I think those claims are coming true.
So you by the sound of it, like, anyone can talk the talk, do as I say, not as I do, but you actually walk the walk as well.
I think it's so important to walk the walk. I don't really respect people who are all talk, all bluff. I want to see the action. And most people do. When you're building trust with someone, they want you to show that you're competent. And if you can show that your competency comes through earned experience, I think it's so much more powerful.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. People start listening a little bit more closely. So you tell us about did you actually implement some changes do you stay in shared houses at all? Did you go straight from your uni days and got a partner and sorry, but one of the better.
Did I go from home to being married? No, I didn't.
Thanks for helping me out there, Emily. Cheers.
No, I did my share in share houses. I shared a house at the bottom of Roden Street in North Melbourne, or West Melbourne actually, in 2010, the coldest winter I've ever lived. This house was an old Victorian terrace.
Of course, yeah.
I remember one day we had a summer storm and rain literally seeped through the wall of my upstairs bedroom and poured on the floor. Had no heating. I slept that winter in a sleeping bag under my doona and held chilblains on my feet. And
it builds character, though.
It absolutely does. You're young and dumb once. So, no, that house had very little. I don't there wasn't much to try and do more efficiently. Although I do remember we got one bill and myself and Declan, my Irish housemate, decided we were just going to sit in the lounge room with just one light on, and my other housemate, Alejandro, he came home, he was like, oh, we got the bill, did we?
It was that obvious, yeah.
It was really obvious. So that was about controlling bill costs with consumption reduction.
Yeah. No, I mean, you got to start somewhere. This is the thing, isn't it? It's like, as you were saying before we started the recording, it's not... It's black and white in some respects that we have to actually implement change. What's not black and white is the degrees. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and we've got to allow people to be perfectly imperfect.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You know, I'm a mother now, and you see a lot of talk, particularly in the social media space. You know, what's the most right? You know, everyone's, you know, how to be the perfect, and it's like, oh, you should do cloth nappies, or, you know, because disposables are bad for the environment. And I think that's just one of the many consumption choices we have. What's more important, I think, than making all the perfect consumption choices is to be a conscious consumer.
Yeah, I agree.
And that you have every opportunity to run your own home by your own choice. But the more conscious you are about what you consume is going to save you and your household budget in the long run, rather than just shopping at the supermarket and just being driven by your, you know, desires. You'll end up with a basket full of chocolate and cake and all things that are sweet and appetizing, but you also need to pick the veggies. And in your home, when it comes to energy, you can have all the nice things. You can have a nice, comfortable home where you use air conditioning to regulate the temperature. Lighting, of course, so you can do your tasks in the evening and in the early morning. Hot water so you can have a lovely shower, and your kids, you know, are bathed at the end of the day and nice and relaxed, ready for bed. All of these things are really good, but in order to have them, you need to eat the veggies, and that is upgrade to LEDs. Make sure you're walking out of a room and turning off the light. Some of the simple things about consumption. But what's really exciting, homes are getting smarter. There's technology to make your home really smart. I lived with a housemate in Abbotsford, and he had a big light over the lounge room area that was on a motion sensor. So if you came down the stairs late at night, it was there as a safety light. And now motion sensor lights are ubiquitous at the big box stores.
Yep.
And they're really good for safety and convenience, and they just need recharging every once in a while by USB.
At what rate do we have to implement change based on the fact that, I'm talking globally here, that you've got countries that, I hesitate to use the word third world, but I can't think of a better term, who will suddenly their consumption profiles will change. For instance, rural India, rural China, once they start adopting, all of them, Western habits of consumption, this is going to be a really big problem. What's your take on all that? Or is that too controversial?
No, I don't think it's too controversial. I don't think I have the depth of data on that. But look at the mobile telecommunications revolution. There are parts of the world, Africa and Asia, that never had landline.
Yep.
And went straight to mobile. And that is because the technology came down in cost so much through that change. And I think the same is possible. I don't say it will absolutely happen, but it is possible that for those communities who, whether they be Pacifica communities or Indian or Chinese communities where they haven't had that technology before, where they can adopt solar, so they're generating at the source of use and they're able to use much more efficient lighting and other technologies, that they won't have as big a demand profile potentially.
It's and we spoke a little bit before the recording started, and one of the things we mentioned was, I suppose, that a reactive, proactive approach. Like I see retrofitting a home, and it's a wonderful thing. It's reactive, and you've got no other option because you haven't built the home. But really, the changes have to start even earlier in the building of, and this is my opinion, of course, of building of better houses, better quality houses that actually reduce your consumption right from the word go.
Yeah, we're seeing that happen in the National Construction Code. That's constantly being worked on in terms of energy efficiency and energy performance of homes, and the NAHRS, the National Home Energy Rating Scheme, that currently exists for new homes only, and there's standards that new homes have to meet, and that's been extended into existing homes. So CSIRO and DQ are currently trialling.
Who's DQ?
DQ is the Federal Department of Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Water.
Oh, the Department of Name Changes. That's right. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
And that I've been, eagerly following the developments in that trial, and that's being expanded to existing homes, and they've been using LiDAR technology in order to do the ratings, and they're also looking at it at scale model, which is an online tool. I haven't had the opportunity to explore them myself, but I'm really interested.
The LiDAR would be interesting because that's a kind of ground penetrating radar, and they've been doing some interesting.
So exciting because I was a big fan of Time Team. Do you remember that archaeology show from the UK? Oh.
No, never. Time Team.
Tony Robinson, famous.
From being Baldrick.
From Baldrick. Was this very enigmatic host of this group of very charming academic professor archaeologists. They do Roman finds and Bronze Age and Iron Age. And they'd use LiDAR technology.
Yeah, wow.
So they had one team and they had this LiDAR on this stick, and they were ground penetrating. Obviously not using ground penetrating LiDAR in a home.
But I think a form of LiDAR though, isn't it? A form of
LiDAR.
Wow. And that's effectively to assess areas where, lack of thermal mass or lack of thermal insulation or airflow and what have you and stuff like that.
People can do something similar using the temperature rate monitoring.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
You point it and it tells you what temperature is there.
Infrared camera.
Oh, thank you. Infrared camera.
Yeah, we use them in renewables for assessing. You can see microfractures on solar panels and also hotspots in switchboards. But you can also point them at people's heads during COVID to see if they're too warm
that's
in
right.
there.
Or you can point them at your ceiling to see where the hotspots
That's exactly right.
Where the gaps are in your insulation, or you've got a draft in your home as well. Plug it up.
I want to get back to when you actually bought your home later. Right, because now I want to talk. You were at Green Energy Trading, and this is a thing I want to ask because it's specifically Victorian, right?
Yep.
And it took me a while to get my head around it, but it's the whole when it comes to commercial solar, whole STC and VEEC scenario compared to LGCs. Can you take us through that a little bit?
Sure. So. You're talking about a commercial solar system that's over 100 kilowatts.
Yeah, so in the before Veeks, it was like okay, up to 99.999.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm
So
talking about. Yeah.
the small scale technology certificates has a cap, and that's 100 kilowatt of solar. And then above, if the system's anything larger than that, you need to claim the LGCs.
Yep.
Large scale generation certificates.
Yes.
And the difference between those two is the STCs are claimed upfront. It's called the deemed method. And they assume a certain amount of generation
Based on capacity.
over the forward deeming period. And the LGCs is created on generation data. So
Actual
it's
real life production. Yes.
Yeah, post production. And that's you could think of that more like a revenue stream coming off the solar system. In Victoria, we have fewer solar hours per year, and so it was challenging to make the propositions stack up for commercial businesses adopting rooftop solar. And the Victorian Energy Upgrades Program had a measurement and verification method in there that saw on-site solar generation for commercial businesses as being an overall energy efficiency measure because it reduced your demand on the grid. And so through the Victorian Energy Upgrades Program, you're able to also claim Victorian Energy Efficiency certificates based on that project-based
So you can
assessment.
claim all three. So I'll give you an example. If you've got a 250 kilowatt system, from what I know, you've got to correct me if I'm wrong because maybe I've got this wrong. You claim your STCs up to 100.
Yep.
But the second 150 goes under VEEKs, but not LGCs.
Yeah, I think the rules say you have to choose between the two.
And there's all these, I suppose, hoops you have to jump through in regards to. They have to do an assessment of the actual site, don't they, for VEEKs? Yeah. So it's still So there's still a little bit. Yeah, it's one of those things that we get asked a lot here at Greenwood Solutions about the whole thing, and then you go interstate and they don't have a similar scheme.
So the VEEKs and the LGCs aren't stackable. Yeah, so this is we talk about stackability.
Right.
And we can talk about that on batteries too.
Please, yeah.
So, yeah, it's not stackable because the VEEKs say if you claim LGCs, you can't claim VEEKs.
And if you claim VEEKs, you can't claim LGCs.
And, yeah, that's right. And because you would have incorrectly created the VEEKs in that case because you've created LGCs as well. And so the choice is between the two price points of the certificates and the effort required and how long you have to wait for the financial return. So
this is really an assessment that should be made by a company such as Green Energy Trading.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and that's one of when you were there, is that one of your roles to sort of work out what the best approach was, or was that a role of others there?
That was the role of the engineering team.
Right.
Because they could look at all the parameters and whether it would qualify under the Victorian scheme as well. But definitely putting together the marketing materials on how people should choose between the two. They'd be presented both options, and how would you choose between the two? Well, with LGCs, the path to claim is simple and can occur within 3 months after the installation, depending up to 1 year to get your first return. But the price is the difference is in price. Quite significant.
Yeah. And the price is subject to market fluctuations.
And the scheme is ending in 2030.
That's the other thing, isn't it? That's that's why we've seen the multiplier reduce over the years.
That's the STCs? That's the deeming. That's the deeming period.
But that's still the 2030 is a cut-off point for STCs, VEEKs, and LGCs.
VEEKs is going to continue on. So the Victorian government passed legislation in May that extends the Victorian Energy Upgrades Program to 2045.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we've got another 15 years.
Well,
on
there
that.
you go. See, this is the thing, and I'm involved in the industry, and I didn't know that. See, this is why it's fantastic to have people who come in who know their stuff, because, okay, so VEEX is going to continue on. That's really good news.
It's currently under a big strategic review as well.
Wow. What about the other states? Poor them.
Yeah, poor them. No, so the South Australian Retail Energy Productivity Scheme is going to its next 5-year tranche starting next year. That's a direct obligation on energy retailers in South Australia to provide energy saving activities and flexible activities like incentives to join a VPP, for example. And
which we're not going to talk about. Yeah, it's a complicated area, isn't it? Yeah,
but because of that incentive in South Australia, we've seen a really high uptake of VP in South Australia. People are like, okay, well, the downside risk is alleviated by having that upfront in your pocket from the government incentive, right?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. All like with VPPs and FCAS and arbitrage, it's all speculative because it's looking at the price of something at a particular point in time, or the ability, in the case of FCAS, to affect the grid at a certain amount of time, at a certain point in time, and you're paid accordingly. And it's quite a complicated area, but it all comes down to that, that changing value of energy, isn't it?
Yeah, my personal view.
Yeah,
is,
I want to hear. Yeah, I'd love to hear
my personal view is that most people want energy to be easy to understand,
yeah.
and that this move, rightly or wrongly, and I don't think it's wrong at all, but it's just really complex. This move to this two-way market is for sophisticated players.
Right.
And I don't think there are a lot of people who are ready to be sophisticated energy players. But I think there is a group of people who either have experience trading in markets, have confidence, have a low, have that risk appetite for it.
Yeah.
I say, all power to you, man. If you want to join it and be exposed to the wholesale market price, and you accept all the risk that comes with that, because you see that there's going to be massive upside for you,
go for it.
Awesome. Tell me how you go.
Yeah,
because I'd love to learn from you. In that space, I personally don't want to be a first mover.
Yeah, an early adopter. No,
Yeah.
I totally understand. I think what's not arguable is the fact that, and I always say this in the training, is you got this sun, right?
Yeah.
It's pumping down its energy. You're silly if you don't capture it and use it. You've got this wind. It's a resource.
Yeah.
You've got this water. It flows. There's a resource there. And if you look at it from that perspective, everything else falls into play. But it is all tempered by the economic reality of the world we live in. And that's, like when you're offering a commercial solar project proposal to a business owner, he's looking at all the options. Do I spend more on machinery, more on advertising? Do I employ more people? Do I invest my money somewhere else on crypto or whatever? Or do I go down the road of a commercial solar system? And whereas with the consumer, that order, that priority is a little bit, that hierarchy or that priority is a little bit different because there's more psychological drivers. And I don't think there is, unfortunately, unless you use a stick for business, there's, it's still that financial side that
I think, and that's where governments have other policy mechanisms in place, like tax incentives.
Yeah.
So for business, for several years, although I don't think there's any in the current financial year, there's been instant asset write-offs, specifically available for energy efficiency technologies. And in some state government budgets have some funding available for that as well.
So you're at Green Energy Trading and you're doing what you do there. And I actually didn't ask specifically what you were doing there because there's a lot that goes on in a company like that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in a company like that. Green Energy Trading is a great strategy of diversification. Like diverging and then converging, consolidating, and then looking for new opportunities again. Always looking at that next horizon. I definitely took that away as a key to success from my time there. It's always looking at the horizon. Luke Kneinenberg always used to say, look to where the puck is going to be. Skate to the puck. Don't skate to the puck.
This is an ice skating.
Skate to where it's going to be.
Yeah, right.
And so we kind of adopted that as a mindset that we, could go further to be ready for what's next. But you had to be looking. You had to be looking up, and you had to be looking out.
Yeah, if you don't look, you don't see.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get trapped in the busyness or in the success of the current model, or whatever that might be for you, until it's not working for you anymore. And if you're not ready for adapting and making that change, it's a real struggle. So that's a brilliant mindset that I still keep to this day.
Did you learn obviously leadership skills at Green Energy Trading? What kind of give us a rundown on what kind of skills and life skills that you learnt there?
So I'm eternally grateful for my time at Green Energy Trading and the lessons I learnt there. It was some really formative years. When you're in your 20s, it's very formative of how you are going to show up as an adult later in life and in your career as well. And I was fortunate enough, not just through my own hard work and tenacity, but to be recognised with leadership potential, and offered the opportunity to join a leadership networking group called Tech, the Executive Connection. They've rebranded to Vistage or something. Rick Brazzali was part of that. Luke Kneinenberg was part of that. And they allowed me to join that group as well to develop my leadership. So under the mentorship of Harvey Martin, I had many opportunities once a month, a whole day, once a month for 6 years. I would go to Tech and work on managing self, managing others, managing business, what good marketing looks like, what motivating teams look like. And I'll never forget the first one I showed up to. We had Craig Cherry giving us a session on high-performing teams. It was very sales teams focused. But he had around the room a series of posters, and one of them said, "Be a good ancestor, plant trees you'll never see grow." And that spoke to me. It's really deep. And the way that shows up in me now is it's the unselfishness of it, of doing an act that you may not get accolades for, but knowing you made a difference. It's the sharing of ideas and not needing the admiration of being the initiator. Because we are not geniuses on our own. That it's the collaborative effort that takes a seed of an idea and goes, oh, what about this perspective and this angle? And if we add on that, and all of a sudden you've got this blossom that's transcendent rather than having to guard it. This is my plant of an idea.
Yep.
And nobody can touch it, and you get possessive over it. That letting go of that can create some real beauty in the world and real change.
Is that something you teach your children, this kind of approach to how to think about things?
I think my kids are a little bit too young for that lesson just yet. But it's a lesson I try and teach and share with those around me. Like, be a constant gardener of ideas and growth and development of yourself, of contributions to other people's growth and development. And people will shine because of how you're able to show them or support them. So that's the kind of leadership I learned.
That's great.
Under Harvey.
That's great. I love it. I ask this of all guests. Is a leader born, or can a leader be created? And I'm not saying either. I'm saying nature, nurture, what kind of mix, what percentage? I'm putting you on the spot.
And I'm thinking about that. I think there are styles of leadership that suit certain personalities.
Right.
Those styles of leadership that we stereotype. It's like loud, bold, courageous, the one who stands up the front or the one who gives orders and is directive. But I think there are other styles of leadership that are underappreciated that happen from people who bring people to the table. The styles of leadership that notice the people who haven't had the opportunity for their voice to be heard and make space for that. The styles of leadership that where people gravitate to because of that sense of acceptance. You'll follow that person. You trust them that they'll lead you in the right direction. You also feel like you belong to the group that they create. These are not necessarily loud types of leadership, but really important types of leadership.
A lot of those loud types of leadership are leaders are sociopaths, though. So let's talk about the nice leaders. It sounds like that to be a proper leader, and I think we could probably agree on the definition of what that means, and that's the second group, that you need a high level of empathy. You need not only understanding, but you need empathy, and you need to actually love your fellow human being.
Yeah, I think empathy is so important for leadership. Empathy is that skill of walking beside someone and not telling them how to think or feel or do, but to say, I can see you're struggling there. You want to tell me about it? Is there a way that I could support you through this? But that doesn't take that backpack off their back. It says, no, this is your backpack to carry. I'm here beside you, because carrying that backpack will make that person continue to develop their strength and resilience.
Absolutely.
A leader who takes over from someone who is struggling undermines that person's ability to develop that resilient muscle.
Oh, totally. I totally agree. And also, who are we to take away someone's experience, both good and bad? And let's face it, we only really learn when we're subjected to adversity. Learn
Absolutely.
really about certain core things,
but also the choices you make.
Absolutely.
I am who I am today because of the choices I made yesterday.
I love it. Yeah,
James Joyce.
Absolutely. Look, you are exactly. We're here for a reason. Everything that's happened for a reason, and everything that's happened has brought me to this point in time. And I think a lot of philosophers over the years have said something similar. Wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Okay. So green energy trading. And now you're at AGL.
Yeah.
Tell me about the process from green energy trading to AGL.
So I had been working in the marketing role at green energy trading for 4 years and had taken on that role as the business had asked of me. There'd been some changes and that marketing role had opened up, and I had no background training or experience in marketing, and it was presented to me as a great career development opportunity. And I was hesitant at first, then made the decision to leap into marketing, and it was hard. I recognised in myself a lot of skills and knowledge gaps, particularly around sales, confidence, and how to manage a sales pipeline, sales team. So was fortunate that we got in place a training program, and that's just as COVID hit. And
oh wow, yeah,
the timing for me personally, but also for the team, having this collective training session where we came together for a purpose, even virtually, to learn together as a group, maintained that social connection through the workday that I really believe helped us combat the isolation of that time.
Yeah.
And I learned an incredible amount from that training course, and it applied not just into sales, but communicating with influence, empathy, building rapport, and a lot of that I took into how we were going to do the marketing, how we were going to position and write copy, and how we were going to use language the same way we'd use in a one-on-one sales conversation, or how could you do that in a written or a digital form. So it was a really great learning experience, but I did come to a point where I realised I was quite far away from what had driven me and inspired me when I first joined Green Energy Trading, which was that closeness to the political circus.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The closeness to the policy development and how we shaped the schemes that governed the work, the frameworks that we did the business that we did. And I came to this realisation that I think my work here at Green Energy Trading is done, and I wanted to look for something else, but didn't have a plan.
Wow.
I didn't have a plan. Very fortunate that through tech, actually, I had a session with Paul Allen, who's a consultant to business, focusing on managing margin, which is very essential for business, understanding what parts contribute to margin.
Well, very important.
Very important. We had great chats about that, and when I mentioned to Paul that I was moving on from Green Energy Trading, I was going to take my next step, he's like, I've got something for you. And he offered me his next step training program, and I jumped at the chance. I didn't want to go through finding my next position alone. That felt incredibly challenging, scary even. But I wanted to do it right. I really, knowing that I'd stepped out without a plan, was like, oh, this is so foolish. But then this presented me with a way to combat that, and also to have someone by my side with that knowledge and experience who was dedicated to me. And I did a lot of work on myself. It was really healing. You know, they talk about healing in terms of you can go to a psychologist, you can talk through things, but I think there's also great value in doing the work, the hard work on yourself. And that's
asking the right questions too.
Yeah, asking the right questions. And so it was a process of looking inside, pulling out those things that I was really proud to have achieved in my career and putting them down on paper, and crafting that story about what I had to offer and what I was really looking for. That was part of the reason I decided to step away, had no plan, because I didn't really know what I was looking for. It was kind of reactionary. So I needed to switch that into, okay, needs to be rational rather than reactionary.
Would you say that in your life that people have come along at the right time?
I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And I think maybe we create that for ourselves also, you know.
Action follows thought.
Action follows thought, or is it that you have to put yourself out there, and not that people will recognise you, but you got to shake hands, you got to network.
Absolutely.
And then I think the thing that I learnt the most last year was that when you're really clear about what help you need, when you ask for it, people come to the table and they're actually really generous.
That's really
so
good.
I'd like a coffee. Yeah, sure. Like, because it has this intention. I want to talk about, I'm looking for my next step. And then I'd have those coffees and they're like, well, what are you looking for? And when I could articulate that, they were like, oh yeah, well I can help. And then it felt like it was a valuable use of their time as well. They felt they could be helpful and they could actually give me something of value. And those conversations led to a deeper self-awareness of what I was really looking for, what my superpowers were. I had some great conversations, some great questions thrown at me. One of them was, well, what are your superpowers? And that I was like, well, actually, I'm really good at digging into the detail. And I've worked really hard on ways to communicate that really simply so that other people can understand it. And also, I'm really good at bringing people together in a group.
That's right, yeah.
And the energy and enthusiasm that I show up with. And so they're pretty good things.
They are really good things, especially in this day and age when a lot of us are feeling disconnected through, potentially social media, the whole mobile phone thing. It's having that time to be introspective, having that time to be, dare I say, even bored, not staring at your phone all the bloody time.
Yes, I struggle with that.
It's look, I mean, hey, we all struggle with it because phones are incredibly addictive, and that's why they're so successful. But look, it seems that despite you mentioned, it was sociology, politics and languages. You didn't mention psychology, but a lot of what you're talking about is psychology, isn't it?
Psychology and philosophy have definitely been topics that I have just personally been reading up on or listening podcasts on. In my 30s, a fascination with the big thinkers is like the philosophy side.
Yeah, give me a favourite philosopher or a philosopher that you like, the cut of their jib, for want of a better expression.
No, I don't have a favourite philosopher. It's certainly like there's just some fascinating topics that philosophers explore, like what drives human endeavour? Is it this drive to, like, some people, is it drive to procreate? Or some others will be, no, this fear of death means that people are driven to leave legacies. And, some of these really big topics.
Yep.
And it's like, just fascinating how thinkers like that think and how big they think, and then how much into the detail they might get as well. And then the psychology part was leaning in. It started with managing people, really, and that when I was a new manager, taking on a team, that I was quite different to the previous manager and didn't come with any obvious prior team management experience. And so I had to demonstrate to them that they could trust me.
You had to prove yourself.
I had to prove myself. And part of what started as self-doubt was then driven into research. Well, how do I build trust, or how do I repair where people think there's been a betrayal of trust? And that led me into reading some of that psychology of trust and what underpins that. And because people talk about, trust is so important in the world now. Well, what does that mean? And that it's really built on how you show up. That you show up and you demonstrate you've got competency. That you show up consistently. That people can rely on your behaviour being a pattern that they can predict. A lot about psychology is understanding humans' craving for predictability, and that how most leaders and managers have to manage uncertainty. I mean, it's a constant in our world. We crave certainty. We crave predictability. We create stereotypes of all sorts of things in order to
absolutely
organise our world. And in fact, we
look for patterns, we compartmentalize,
That's right.
we categorise.
But the world we live in is fundamentally
the opposite.
chaotic
That's it.
and uncertain.
Absolutely.
And it's finding the pathway through that.
It is certain from the point of view it is chaotic.
Yes.
We'll go another 3 hours down the track of philosophy. No, but this stuff is really incredibly important, and it overrides the importance of what job we do and any of that, because it's who we are and how we interact with other people. You talked about trust. There's a trust between a parent and a child, but it's a different trust with a worker and a colleague. There's still a trust, but it's a different kind of trust, right?
Yeah.
And it's trying to identify what that actually means. I think it's amazing stuff, and everyone should be introspective and look and analyse this stuff at a deep level. Otherwise, you just go through life going,
Yeah.
Is it my son says NPC?
NPC.
And non-player.
Non-character player.
Yeah, that's
something.
it. NC, whatever it is. Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Non-player character.
Yeah, like a kind of drone. So we're nearly there at AGL. We're nearly there.
So I managed to get an introduction to Jane Butler, the General Manager of Electrification Innovation at AGL, and sat down with her with my pitch that I had workshopped with another friend at coffee, and I was like, I just have... This time last year, there was this great sense that electrification was about to go on the same wave that solar had been on for the last 15 years. And I thought it was going to be heat pumps. The federal government's battery, cheaper home batteries, switched that.
Yeah.
But it's still people's understanding of energy, how they use it in their homes, is a shift change now. And so, I had that conversation. Jane was like, actually, I think I need someone with all your prior experience in certificates. I've got this team who's developing products for AGL customers that are about driving electrification, and your understanding, Emily, of what scheme incentives are available is going to be really valuable to that team. Also, we have this direct obligation in South Australia we need a manager for. So
wow.
I was like, all right, I'm up for that.
So you're talking South Australia now?
Yeah, so part of the responsibility I have is...
But you're Melbourne-based, aren't you?
I'm Melbourne-based.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
But AGL has an obligation in their South Australian retail that I manage to provide energy upgrade activities, and we do that through a panel of activity providers.
Carrot or stick?
Carrots.
Good.
Lots of carrots.
Yeah. Juicy carrot. That's good.
Yeah. So South Australian customers can get access to incentives for heat pump hot water systems and air conditioning upgrades and higher efficiency appliances and joining VPP, virtual power plant, and that makes getting solar and batteries more attractive. It also just helps lower their bills by using less energy in their home.
So how... I'll be careful here. How... Like AGL, they're in the business to make money. They're a business.
Yes.
They have obligations to their stakeholders, whoever they are. How? So ideally, you want consumers to be implement changes, but doesn't that actually turn into less money spent with AGL?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you look at the way AGL's approaching its strategic approach is to lead in electrification,
right,
and also to strengthen its core business offerings.
Gotcha.
It has expanded its offerings to cover all those services you might require in a home, including Netflix and telecommunications.
I see.
To be broader than just energy.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's. Oh, now I see. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a more of a holistic approach to what a household or even a small business actually needs. Are we talking specifically domestic residential here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you're catering to the modern family.
Absolutely.
Wow, I didn't. Yeah, I had no idea. See, that's
No,
wow.
Energy retailers will evolve, and it's a competitive landscape out there.
It is, and AGL operate obviously in Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia, and
Southeastern Queensland, I believe.
yeah, because southeastern Queensland's funny, from their DNSPs only really Ergon and Energex, and by the way, they're under one mantle anyway. It's a weird one, and where everyone else we spend with a retailer, and what with AGL. Give us an example of a day-to-day, Emily day-to-day, Monday, you get to work. What goes on? Give us, and are you allowed to work from home too? Do you have a bit of
it's really flexible work. It's 3 days in the office, and the other 2 days are your choice, whether it's home or office.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do 3 days in the office and 2 from home, which is a great balance for me with school-age kids.
Yeah.
And that a day the days that I'm in the office look like mostly packed with meetings. So
right.
Project teams coming together, product teams coming together, advising them on incentives, making progress towards implementing.
So you're running the meetings in most cases?
No. I'll act as that subject matter expert, advising, supporting them, sharing my knowledge with the team so that they can implement something, bring something that's really creative, innovative, and compelling to market for customers.
What makes, I've been in a few meetings, we've all been, there's some meetings that go on for an eternity, right?
Yes.
Nothing gets done. And then there's meetings that happen so quickly, you go, hang on, what happened there? Did anything? And obviously the ideal meeting is somewhere in between. How do you mold? How do you create and mold a good meeting? Have you got any tricks for the listeners out there?
I think chairing meetings is an underrated skill that a lot more people need to do. Some workshops
there's some subtext there, I can say.
I mean, you can follow all the standard guides of having an agenda, but I think what's more important is, as the meeting chair, you have the right people in the room, you have clear outcome objective. So from today, we want to have X, Y, Z. Otherwise, don't call the meeting.
Yep.
There are some other meetings, say you might have a daily stand-up with your team, the people that you lead. I think they're really valuable time to come together to just focus on what the priorities are. There's a little bit of rapport building, bonding opportunity that's really important for team connection.
Absolutely.
But also for you as a people leader to observe just general countenance and how people are showing up on that day, and might give you some subtext to dig into one-on-one at some later point. And so there's a lot of cues that you're looking for as a leader. But in those bigger meetings, running to time, respecting people's time, so important.
And managing people's egos. Let's face it. Some people talk more than others. They do, and they need to be reined in.
Yes.
That's my opinion, by the way. That's my opinion. And I'm one of them who talks too much. And I tell people, rein me in.
I am also a bit of a floor hog, if you might call it. I've no fear of sharing my views in a meeting.
Love it. It's great.
Which often means that if I'm the chair, it's probably a better meeting. No, it's a better meeting. I don't want to take over. Just looking at myself, that's something I have to really consciously manage. That's a self-management thing. But you pick the people in the room. If you've got the right people in the room, you'll call on them, or with a group that you come to know well, you'll know that some people have different styles of contribution. Some of it might be after the meeting. They're in a role where they're really there to listen, absorb and learn. But it's still great that people who are in a more of apprenticeship role have a seat at that table where those conversations are having.
Absolutely.
I think we forget that a lot of people learn through observation. That's how kids learn, play. There are these steps in play where kids first stand at the edge of the mat and watch the kids who have already started playing play, and then they might sit side by side and mimic or mirror the play, and then they will turn and work on collaborative play. And I think we forget as adults that what we observe in children is still true for adults.
Absolutely.
And we've got, just because someone's not quite ready to be the collaborative player, contributor, they're going to get that learning opportunity if you give them a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
To observe, and then you can have a coaching session with them. What did you observe? How could you adopt that in your own? Next time, how could you lift your contribution to that group? What value could you add there? And then they move from being the observer on the sideline to playing side by side. And that person might need to be called on. Oh, Emily, do you have some thoughts? It might be a table of more senior people to be called and say, do you have any thoughts or observations that we haven't already covered? And you have the choice to say, no, I'm still in, I think everything you've covered is fine. I have nothing to add right now, but I'm going to take an opportunity to take it away, and maybe I can email you something later, to the point where they build the confidence they can be at the table making valuable contributions. Yeah,
to me it's a sequence of experiences that vary in intensity and vary in whatever, and you're building up your neural pathways. I'm talking more about kids now, but it happens with us. And there may be people who jump in at the deep end and start voicing their opinion, and there's others who, as you said, slow and steady wins the race, and they'll contribute in their own way eventually. This question's going to be an interesting one because it applies to any office, right? Wait for it. The whole deep work. I don't know if you know that concept.
Yeah.
There's a guy I've been reading, Cal Newport. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, you win it.
Yeah,
We're on
I read his book, So Good They Can't Ignore You.
So you know what I'm talking about. We've got these distractions, and there is no such thing as multitasking. It's actually rapid switching, and every time you switch back from one task to another, you're actually losing a I'll say it, a crap load of time switching around.
Yeah.
How do you personally manage that when you're at the office or at home in work mode, when there is, let's say there's social media here, there's emails there, there's internal chats there, there's LinkedIn, there's this and that, and what's your approach? And maybe explain a bit of background to the people who don't know who the hell Cal Newport is and this whole deep work and kind of concept.
So Cal Newport's a professor from the US.
Yeah, he's from the US. Yeah,
and he's looking at work styles. But my approach to achieving successful deep work is to set the intention at the start of the day. So I do write to-do lists, and sometimes they are overly ambitious. What I do for myself, I have to write it all down though, because if I don't get it out, it flies around and distracts me.
Right.
And then I pick the number one most important thing, because that helps clarify the focus. You make a choice, the number one most important thing, and you make time for it. I don't accept the fob off of, I just can't find the time. I can't find the time. You'll never find time.
Time is time. It's just there.
Time.
Yeah.
You have to intentionally make time for the progress you want to see. Yep. And I am still working on goal setting. This is a constant challenge for me, and it's something I work on. And so setting the goal and then breaking it down into smaller steps. How do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah, very
right?
good. Yes, very good.
And so how much is done today? But then I also really worked very well under pressure. Like I need to create false deadlines for myself.
Yeah, but that's good if you can do that. It just seems that there's certain things, like for instance, if you're doing, let's say you're doing some analysis on a marketing strategy or something that requires a lot of deep thought, you don't want to have distractions. And I think because it seems to me, and I'm not saying where I work now, because that is certainly not the case, because everyone works like a maniac. But there's certain people you talk to that effectively they believe that their job is answering emails and talking on whatever internal chat system they have and looking at LinkedIn and then going to Instagram, to YouTube, back to whatever, Facebook and back, and answering emails all day.
They're caught in the busyness trap.
Absolutely, but their productivity is virtually zilch. And in on that note, since 2000 till 2024, there has not been any increase in productivity with all this new tech, and that's a stat that I've looked at, because I'm always looking, hey, how do things make people feel better about themselves or better people in general? And it seems that this tech really hasn't done much at all. And as I say, I'm old enough to remember when people had no mobile phones and they did business perfectly well. So
Yeah.
it is a constant struggle in this modern age, isn't it, with all this stuff?
Yeah, it is. But there also creates a lot of opportunities to connect with people.
True.
And a lot of the work that I do, in order to provide the insights to the team around me,
Yep.
my job to look at that horizon and to listen to what people are talking about, the ideas that they're sharing in open public forums, on the shape of what policy should be and what good policy looks like, and the frustrations with current frameworks, those pain points, but also the desires of how we want things to function is gold for me. And so I do spend time, and I use my commute in the morning to go through news, media, social media, LinkedIn, those trusted sources that I've built up, but also exploring new channels of information. And then there may be some further research time during the day. So it's more about collecting than synthesizing, than always thinking with your audience in mind. Okay, so it's this particular team. What are their objectives? What's on their strategic roadmap? And how does this research that I'm uncovering, or this opportunity that feels like a golden nugget, are they going to see it, or is it going to look like fool's gold to them? And they feel like I'm selling them snake oil. Or do I? So the best thing is to stand in their shoes and go, okay, where are they at with their project pipeline?
Well, there's the empathy. There's the empathy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Standing in their shoes and going, well, what's going to be most important to them, and can I show them quickly, and how's that going to connect with them and resonate with them really strongly, make a compelling reason for them to switch their attention and their focus. Because if we're in the attention economy,
it's a hard economy.
You're competing with that in your work.
Yeah, wow.
We all are.
Wow. Your attention to detail, it seems, would be pretty good. Is that a fair assessment in what you do?
Yeah, pretty good. The feedback I've had is strip it down even more. So I feel like sometimes when you're in a position of no, you have to get it right. You want to give them all the detail. And what I've learnt is that style of communicating, here's everything, overwhelms your audience. And an approach that hooks them and helps them digest that information is more hooks in terms of questions like, would this interest you? I've got more information if you're ready for it. Or if you haven't been looking at this, I think you're missing out on something. You've got to have that hook, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you engage in them. Okay, here's the piece. Here's the benefit. And then once they go, yeah, I'm buying that.
Yep.
I'm in. I'm all in. You go, all right, the details here.
Right.
But don't start at the top. Here's all the detail. Blah, 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 because it's going to do this and you should buy in. You're like,
it's a really good point, isn't it? Because I see that in emails now. My emails are very concise. And one of the reasons is because I'm a horrible typer. Talk the leg off a chair, but my emails are super concise because I'm a slow typer, so I have to be very careful. And then you see some people's emails or documents which are structured in such a way it looks like an insurance policy. There's no paragraphs anywhere. And when you're presenting information, it has to be palatable and understandable, but both content-wise, but also visually. And it's really important to do that. You'd watch Gruen.
from time to time.
Yeah.
I watch Gruen.
So this whole presenting of the information, as you said, the key is so people go, hey, yum, yum, that tastes good. I can digest it, as opposed to, oh, no, it's such an unusual food. I don't want to go down that road. So that's not a very good example. But anyway, I'll stop now. Emily, please help me out.
It is more digestible. It's like if you got a Lego kit, if you just get them like the box with the picture and just all the pieces, oh my goodness, don't even know where to start. Which is why they come with the builder manual. And this is a form of like visual communication. It's like the objective is the picture on the box, and the way to get there is through these steps. And that's kind of how you got. That's really effective communication if you can do it in writing or in one-on-one as well. Here's what the vision looks like. You want this because X, Y, Z. Why do you want this model of a pirate ship Lego? Because I love Pirates of the Caribbean and I want to feel like I can play that and feel connected to that passion or whatever it is. It's just using this random metaphor.
No, I understand that. So because your audience is domestic residential homes, and is your main audience the owner of the home, the other residents in the home? Who are we talking about from an age of, yeah.
So when you're talking about energy, you've got the account holder.
Yep.
You need to be speaking to the account holder because they're the buyer.
Yep.
They're the ones who pay. Which, you could be more creative. You see many companies might go and look at education programs that are aimed at primary school children, knowing that they are ripe for learning.
It's a long-term investment.
A long-term investment.
Yeah.
But children teach their parents.
True.
Children bring home things from school and say, oh, Mum, in sign language we learnt this sign. It means this. And they'll demonstrate it to you as a parent. Well, they'll come home. My mum, someone from, a water authority came in and talked to us about wetlands and plantings, and also what we can do at home, or we should be using certain type of soap or whatever the message might be. And so the parent at home will learn that message from their child.
That's a good point.
There's, I'm not saying AGL's doing this, but, I remember messages being at school, turn the lights off and this type of thing. So getting to kids at that school age is just another way that you can influence buying decisions in the home. But yes, the focus of the Electrification Innovation team is on selling solar and batteries and getting people to electrify their homes at residential homes. And so who are the buyers? They're account holders.
Do you think it helps that, from a credibility perspective, that AGL actually is involved with large-scale commercial solar? And I know that for a fact because we manufacture some of their interface protection boards and have done for quite a few years, and they've got an amazing engineering team. Shout out to David. Do you think that helps with the credibility when the customers, if the customer's aware that, AGL is not just doing a couple of things, they're doing quite a bit in this industry?
Yeah, I think it does serve AGL and it serves the customers to know that AGL is committed to electrification and sustainability across its whole business. And it's not just talking the talk about electrification.
It's walking the walk. Yeah, that's really important. You would use technology. Sorry, we all use technology. What kind of programs would you use on a weekly basis? Like Power BI, maybe, I assume, or what kind of stuff?
I am an old school Excel nerd.
Oh, Excel, excellent. Power Query. You use Power Query then.
No.
Or you should learn Power.
I should learn Power.
Yeah,
okay,
no, Power Query is great.
I'm going to put that on my development plan.
Power Query, it's great. It's I've been doing it for the last couple of years.
I did learn recently how to use maybe it was Power Query to look up a database from a web page.
Yeah, that's Power Query.
Okay, I did. I just didn't know it was called that.
Yeah, it's free. It's been part of Excel for a while. Excel is pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Excel nerds.
my favorite thing to do is build dashboards. With pivot tables. And then pivot graphs.
I'm going to show you some dashboards. Later on.
And then people look at them and go, "Oh my god, how'd you do that?" I'm like, "Oh, pivot table."
Well, this is
people are scared of pivot table. And I was telling one of my colleagues the other day, I was like, "No. You can't break anything with a pivot table. So long as you don't corrupt the data behind it, you break the pivot table. I can rebuild it. That's no problem."
This is the thing. Next step is Power Pivot.
Okay.
We'll talk about that off camera. That's great. Now, Excel is such a powerful tool. So you're doing your analysis in Excel and presenting. You're doing these dashboards. Powered by the pivot tables. So your dashboard on one sheet, the pivot tables on another, raw data on another, all of that stuff. Yeah. It's so is that, well, you must use some other stuff as well.
Using Copilot for...
That's the AI part of it.
Yeah, using AI to as a research assistant is quite helpful. I'm still skeptical and wary. So I'm using it as a sidecut assistant. And also doing old school Google searches at the same time.
Uses a lot less energy doing old Google.
Yeah, I am conscious of that as well. It's and the water consumption as well. I would really like to see, and there will probably be something around that in terms of governance.
I hope so.
About how much energy can be used, about water efficiency, that is driven. And I know I've had the opportunity to visit a data center.
Wow.
And they're invested in renewables. They had one very large solar system on the roof of the data center, and it scratched the surface of the data energy consumption.
I bet it did.
But within the racks themselves, they had innovative hot aisles and cool aisles, so that they were cycling the air and using it efficiently to cool. And then down in the basement, they had massive generators using marine grade diesel that they have to, because they have to have.
No, they've got to have a backup. Of
backups.
Course. Yeah.
Data. Data is so essential to the way we run.
It's all data now, isn't it?
It's all data. But yeah, using Copilot as a research assistant, and also writing tools or DraftMe this or draft me that, or the way I'm using is summarize the key points.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's been a lot of consultation across a lot of different schemes, Victoria, New South Wales, federally, South Australia in the last 6 months, and to keep up with that is not just a team effort, but actually requiring of some of those AI assistants as well.
That's the thing. So when you're what's your approach to keeping up with policy changes? Because, and we haven't touched it, you liaise with the government too, don't you?
Not sometimes. I have some relationships that I maintain with regulators, but primarily it's with the policy and market regulations team at AGL that I'm working with, but I'll do my own reading as well.
So the whole policy things changing all the time. I mean, again, chaotic world that we live in. How do you have a specific approach to going, I'm going to check to see if there's regulations once a week or once a month? Do you have any sort of like that kind of approach to seeing what's going on? Because things could just, they change so quickly.
It's a culmination of, a lot of experience knowing what the timeframes are for certain consultation engagements or policy outcomes. It's also just keeping your ear to the ground. What's the chat on LinkedIn? What are industry advocates leading with? And what are they advocating for? And you could clearly see earlier this year in the lead up to the election, the noise that had been building around governments must have a policy supporting batteries.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer for Australian households to deal with cost of living, the rising cost of energy and the like. And while I wasn't privy, I wasn't inside the tent on how that was going to come to be announced. I had very strong sense that announcements were imminent, and so did many other people. But you build that up over time if that's your job. And I've always thought that is my job, to understand what's on the coming horizon and to be ready for it. Preparation is key.
And because things are changing so quickly, you have to keep, you definitely have to keep your finger on the pulse, don't you, with what's going on.
Yeah, and so, keep the finger on the pulse, record it in your own ways of having a touch point of what the policy landscape looks like. So I develop documents like that for myself that become key reference points for when I'm advising others or communicating to them really how complex is the policy landscape out there, and then being able to dial down. Yeah, well, this is what's really important to you. If it's all of this, they go, it's just too much. I don't have time for all of that. Well, for you, I'll focus on this. But this will have the biggest impact for you. To be able to do that,
though, you must know it really, really well. To be able to condense it down to the core, you have to have a wonderful understanding. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I had the great benefit of being privy to Rick Brazali's many presentations on what the policy roadmap looked like. And I've certainly adopted his method of quarterly reviews and going, well, here are the coming milestones. Here's what we're expecting in the next 18 months. And then always knowing, when's your next election going to be? Because you know that when elections are scheduled, that really changes the conversation in the lead up. And since 2009, energy has been such a political hot topic, and it swings in pendulums. It's become so ideological, which is a blessing and a curse for energy.
Yeah, it is.
For the industry.
It is. Wait till they get their teeth into water, but that's a conversation for another time. Let's step away from AGL and back to your current home. And I know you mentioned you're in the process of maybe looking for another place, and you've got kids growing up. What kind of energy efficient strategies have you implemented in your own home?
So we have got off gas. And we did
Completely, wow.
Completely got off gas 2 years ago. But it didn't start with that being the goal. It started with wanting to update the home when we first moved into it and put LED lighting in and also changed the lighting. So we redesigned downlights to pendant lights. Just it's a nicer, lighter effect.
They look nicer too.
And more ambience in a home than just glaring light coming right from the ceiling. It actually becomes a feature. And that was quite fun, selecting different lampshades and different light types. And after that, I was fortunate at Green Energy Trading 1 year, instead of just giving Christmas bonuses, Rick and Luke came to a decision that they were going to offer tied grants to employees. So the offer on the table was, we'll pay you $1,000 when you show us your energy efficiency project. It can be anything.
Wow.
It didn't have to be something that was eligible for Victorian Energy Efficiency Certificates or STCs for solar. It could be anything so long as you went from baseline and you saved energy by the new appliance or strategy that you implemented. Spencer, my husband, and I met at Green Energy Trading, and both employees at the time got $1,000 each. And we went to Harvey Norman. We were like,
I was going to say, you went to the pub.
Well, we didn't have the $1,000 up front. It was paid afterwards. And we went to Harvey Norman. Oh, we could get a new fridge and get a better star rating. We could change the dishwasher to a better star rating. All these like little things, and well, we could add it up. And then at the time, so what is this? 2018. The time we've got a good 10 years of STCs steaming, so that was about $2,000. The Solar Vic was offering PV rebate and PV zero interest loan, about $1,400 each. So it was near approaching $3,000, and we had $2,000 combined from this Glow grant project through work, and went to a local solar retailer and said, we want solar. Actually, we're going to get solar. Batteries is absolutely out of the question. And they came out with proposals for mid-tier products, and it was going to be $800 or something out of pocket.
Is that wow?
Yeah, it was 3.6 kilowatts because we don't have a huge roof,
right?
So 3.6 kilowatts, and I said, you know what? If we go in and we'll put in the equivalent amount out of our own pocket, so we upped what our contribution was going to be to about $2,000. So does that get us tier 1 and microinverters? And they said yes. So I think pulled together something like $8,500 and a 3.6 kilowatt system with microinverters, and had that installed before Christmas, and that summer saw a 50% reduction in our electricity bill. We were still gas hot water, gas cooking, gas ducted heater at the time. So that's 2018. So the next year I think we took the opportunity to... Oh, yeah, and we won the competition, so they gave us an extra bonus on top of that. I used that extra money to buy an induction cooktop and had that installed along with a couple of other electrical wiring works throughout the house. And then the gas storage water heater started just going on the blink. The pilot light kept going out. I'd be out there like on a rainy, cold, wet winter day because the bath had gone cold.
Wow.
And I was like, this gas heater. I'm sick of getting down on my knees to try and find the pilot light and restart it. And it was right outside in our outdoor entertaining area. I'm like, I hate this thing. And this was before the Victorian Energy Upgrades program had brought in gas replacement as an activity for hot water. And so you couldn't actually claim Victorian Energy Efficiency certificates for replacing gas with a heat pump. But I was so sick of this particular aging unit. I was like, you know what, we're just going to replace it. So I was talking with people from industry. I was like, all right, what should I get? Should I get solar, like evacuated tube system, which had been like the premier technology when I first started in the industry? And they were like, no, don't be silly. Don't waste your roof space. Heat pump is the way to go these days. And I was convinced to go that way. And so invested in a heat pump, a tier 1, again, product. I believe in paying for the highest quality you can afford. And I know that's a real challenge for many people, but it's my choice to do that. And I'm hoping that leaves a legacy of a home that's got really quality products for the next.
I agree with you too. We had our first washing machine. We've been married coming up to our 25th wedding anniversary early in August. Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, let's go. Wow, but we've been together 27 years. Our first washing machine was a Miele, right, second hand.
Oh, yeah.
It lasted for 10 years, and then we bought an Asko made in Sweden, right, because we were like, we're going to buy a good one. And it just passed away about a year ago, so we got 14 years or so out of that. And then we bought another Asko, but they're not made in Sweden anymore. Czechoslovakia, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So I know exactly, because you buy some cheap piece of rubbish that's a third of the price, and you know that warranty period, once it ticks over, built-in technical obsolescence, something always goes wrong. And I've seen it in my parents, now my mum's place, and they always bought really cheap appliances. And don't worry, we'll just throw them away, because it's, if you do the cost-benefit analysis, as in, sometimes it is cheaper, but it's a throwaway society that you're actually encouraging, which I can't stand.
Yeah.
I'll just say one more thing. I was in Korea in 2000, and there's rubbish everywhere. Like in Japan, there was people throwing away washing machines and stuff. And then I went back 2 years later, not one speck of rubbish.
Yeah.
And I asked, and this was a stick approach. They said, you cannot throw away anything, and they ended up having 5 or 6 different bins to put different kinds of recycled, and they heavily penalised people who did up to the contrary, and bang, change was instantaneous. So sometimes the stick does work pretty well.
Sticks do work.
But it's a nice soft stick maybe. So you've got your you got your heat pump. Let's replace the hot water.
We did the heat pump. The induction cooktop, and I think by this stage it's 2021. I'm starting to see the conversation around gas prices moves to saying it's not just going up, but also our gas reserves in Victoria are dwindling. And I saw that the time for me to go off gas was then, and that we just had to. So that winter we practiced just using the reverse cycle air conditioner that was already in the home when we bought it as our heating, and not just for cooling, and tried to use the ducted gas heater as little as possible, and yet still we had incredibly large energy bills that winter, and I was like, oh, okay, that's it. So I think by summer we'd made the call that we were going to address our heating and cooling needs, and we had someone come and assess what other air conditioning we could use, and there weren't any ducted replacements available on reverse cycle that we could replace the gas ducted heating with a reverse cycle unit.
Gotcha.
There. it was probably going to be too expensive and too large a load for our small
just close off the vents now.
footprint of the house. So we got 2 kilowatt, 2.5 kilowatt unit installed in our bedroom. We couldn't get one in the kids' room because there's no external wall big enough for the head unit to sit on. So in the kids' bedroom, which faces east, we just use a heat and cool fan, and that's sufficient because it's just in that evening period as they're going to sleep, we make the room comfortable for them. And the bedroom and the lounge room one heats the rest of the house sufficiently. What's made that work even better is last Christmas we had insulation upgraded in our ceiling.
Was there a noticeable difference after the insulation? Did you? Yeah, right.
Yeah, particularly in the study.
Wow.
Which has a part of the roof where the ceiling is practically in contact with the roof tile.
Gotcha,
and there was nothing there, and that room was always the most extreme temperature, hot or cold. That room now is consistent temperature with the rest of the house, reliably consistent temperature. And we had the wall cavities, the external walls filled in as well. And that's an activity. So Victorian government's bringing back insulation into the Victorian Energy Upgrades program.
Hopefully they do it better this time.
It will. The success of it really will depend on how it's implemented, and it's initially going to be available to homes with very low or no insulation available in the cavity. So below R2, I think. So that'd be really. I'm watching that space pretty closely.
That's really interesting.
So when we had the heating and cooling situation addressed, Spencer spent the next 6 months removing the ceiling ducts from the old gas unit and patching up those ceilings. He's done such a good job, you can't even tell that was over there. So the only ceiling penetrations we have now are a couple of the light fittings.
That's great.
Yeah. And once that was done, that was the step to getting all the ductwork removed out of the ceiling and leading to us finally being able to do the insulation piece in the ceiling and the walls.
So your new house, you'd be making sure that anything you pick that's on the list ticks all the boxes.
I don't think that we will have the luxury of purchasing a home that's ready all electric.
Right.
I think we'll be on a journey to do it all again.
Yeah.
But possibly will be done on a different journey, like an all-in-one potentially. But we really have to wait to see what's available to us.
Houses are never ending anyway.
That's right.
My father was a builder, and builders never finish their own houses. Electricians never finish the wiring. Plumbers never finish the plumbing in their own house. It's just ongoing. I reckon we've covered a heck of a lot. Not everything, but a lot. And it's been incredibly enjoyable talking to you. It really has.
Thank you, Ellie. It's been lovely.
I think we'll call it a day. Thanks very much for coming in. And,
thank you.
My absolute pleasure.
You're welcome.